Hey guys, welcome back. It's Asiyah and this is Asiyah's Plant Life. Today I've got a treat for you. What happens when you go to the store and you buy a pot and there are no holes in it? I used to shy away from them, but I bought this handy dandy ceramic drill bit and now I can turn any pot that I want into a planter. So I'm drilling holes today. I'm going to show you my DIY potting soil mixture with orchid bark and casting worms. It's just going to be a treat. So make sure you stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back, guys. It's Asiyah. This is Asiyah's Plant Life, and today we're doing two amazing things. The first thing is I'm going to show you guys my ceramic drill bit and how I've learned how to turn any pot into a planter, whether it has a hole or not. And then I'm going to show you my DIY potting soil blend. This one is different than the last one. This one has casting worms in it and orchid bark. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. So two pots here I'm going to show you guys. How many times have you gone to a store and found a pot that you absolutely love, but you walked away from it because it did not have drainage holes in it? Raise your hand. I'm guilty of it. I've done it more times than I can count until I got this amazing ceramic drill bit. It drills through ceramic, glass, pretty much anything other than metal. This drill bit will pop a hole into it. Got it off of Amazon. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description box so you guys can pick it up too. But the best thing about it is now I don't have to turn away from any pots. I can get any pot that I absolutely want. Now, before I move on, y'all, thank you for coming back. I love you guys. Every time I do a video, I get so excited to share this new and exciting to me stuff with you. And I'm excited to share this drill bit with you. So if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I want you to keep coming back for more and more and more. Now that I got that out the way, look at these pots, guys. These are the two pots that I grabbed. Both of these are from TJ Maxx. The large pot was $9.99 and the smaller pot was $7.99. I went ahead and, my wife went ahead and drilled a drainage hole in the bottom of this pot off camera. We just wanted to make sure that we could get it through. This was pretty thick in comparison to some of the other ceramic pots that we've drilled. So we went ahead and drilled this one off camera. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how to use the drill bit so that we can put a drainage hole in the bottom of this pot and I can use it as an actual planter versus a cachet pot, meaning I just put the nursery pot inside of it, take it out to water the plant, and then put it back in. I'm not a big fan of doing that unless I absolutely have to, so putting drainage holes in is exactly what I want to do. So come on, let's head over to the sink and let me show you how we're going to get this done. All right, guys, so here we go. We drilled the holes. Now I'm going to show you my 5-ingredient DIY potting soil mixture, and I'm going to repot these two plants. Now, in one of my previous snake plant tour videos, I showed you this plant, and I took quite a bit from it when I propagated it, and it really just needs to be shown some TLC. This is also one of my crotons that I got from Walmart for $1.98 the end of last season, and it's been in its nursery pot. So I'm going to repot both of these plants into these pots that we drilled the holes in with this DIY potting soil mixture. So the first thing I'm going to do before I even get into the potting soil mixture is, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I always cover up the drainage hole with weed mat. Now they have, you can go to the store and you can buy all of these little potting soil, pot mesh, or the mesh that goes over the holes, but who has time and money for that when you can use weed mat? It allows for perfect drainage and it keeps the soil in the pot. You don't want our soil falling through the holes that we just drilled. So I just take it and place it into the pot right over the hole, just like that. I'm going to do that for both pots. And because I'm only repotting 2 plants, I'm going to mix the soil mixture up in the pots. I'm not going to do it in a big bin like I did before, because I don't have any pots or any plants that need to be repotted now, and I don't want this soil mixture to start getting moldy or growing who knows what. So this goes in, and then I'm going to mix it up in the pot before I put the plants in. So these 3 pieces of my snake plant came from this plant when I repotted it earlier this year, I believe it was, or it might have been last year, and they have not done well. As you can see, they're still holding on, but the roots on a lot of them kind of just fell off really into the soil that they were in because it wasn't root bound. And that's one thing about snake plants. I can't talk today, y'all. I don't even know what it is. But snake plants like to be root bound. They like to be tight in the pot, which I know. So I don't know why I put these in a pot that was so big, but they didn't do well. So I'm going to take these and put them right back into the mother plant that they came from, and they're going to go in this pot here. And my hope is that once they reconnect and reconvene and get all the love from the mother plant, that they will start to grow and thrive again. So these are the 5 ingredients that I'm going to use. This is just a regular store-bought potting mix. I'm also going to use worm castings, which essentially is worm poop, guys. Some orchid bark, some peat moss, and then my last thing is my perlite. So the perlite and the orchid bark allow for great drainage in the soil. The worm castings are perfect for an ongoing fertilizer where you don't have to worry about fertilizing your plants over and over again. You can use worm castings to help add nutrients to your soil. The peat moss helps to retain just enough moisture, but not too much. And then of course, our potting mix is a blend of all different types of things, and I don't even know what's actually in this potting mix, but I find that when I use potting mix from the store without adding any amendments to it, it becomes dry and crumbly, and a lot of times it becomes compacted and the roots tend to suffocate on the plants. So I messed around with a few different types of DIY potting soil mixtures, and this is one that I found that really works well. You can even use this mixture for your succulents and your cactus in lieu of prepared or store-bought succulent potting mix. Okay, so here we go. The first thing I want to put in is my potting mixture, or my potting soil, my store-bought potting soil. So I just give it a good mix because it's been sitting in here for quite some time. Man, you showing my half? Y'all can't be looking at me because you know I got cute on the top, right? But the bottom half is still in my yoga pants and they don't match. So I'm trying not to show you guys what's going on over here because I just can't go there with you guys. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pour the potting soil in. Now our potting soil is the base of our mixture. The largest part of your mixture should be your potting soil. And I'm only doing about half of it right now because don't forget I have my soil that my plant is already in, and I want to make sure that that soil transfers over into this pot. From there, I'm going to go ahead and add my orchid bark, which allows for proper drainage. So essentially, I'm going to be doing 2 parts potting soil to 1 part of everything else. So that measurement will vary depending on the size of the vessel or the pot that you're going to be mixing up your soil in. If you're putting it in a big vat, such as a plastic container where you can store it and just scoop in and get it when you need it, then of course that 2 part to 1 part of everything else will vary. And I'm just going and measuring by my eyesight, I'm not worried about taking actual measurements. I've done this so many times. If you're new to this, you might want to actually measure or just go by eyes. So this is my worm casting. That's about 1 part of my worm casting. And it really just looks like soil. If you take a look there, it really just looks like a really deep soil or maybe even a compost. Next is my perlite. This helps with improving drainage and aeration. And then lastly is my peat moss, which helps to retain the moisture and it adds a little bit of nutrients. And that was probably a little bit more than 1 part of my peat moss, but you know what? Who cares? We're going to do it anyway. And then I just take my hand and get in the mixture here and mix it all up. I want to make sure my hand gets down to the bottom so that I can actually get the soil that's at the bottom tossed up into the mixture. And if you take a look in there now, you see that the mixture is really light and airy and fluffy. And that's exactly what we want it to be. We want it to be loose. The next thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get some of these things out of the way. And then I'm going to start with the pieces that were already, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go right in here and I'm going to pull this up. Get a good hold on it and I'm going to pull it up right from the root ball. And the soil that's already in here, if you guys can see, some of the roots are still mixed in with the soil, and this soil is very dry and gritty. This is the soil that this came in from the nursery. So I'm just going to take this and lay this down for a second. And I'm going to add some of this in. And there you go again, guys. You see all those roots in there? A little bit more, and then I'm going to take my shovel and mix this all up with the blend that I already have in there. I have to say, guys, repotting my plants is actually one of my favorite parts about plant care. I really get to get my hands into the soil and just connect with nature and really get to know my plants through repotting them, seeing what their roots look like. Just feeling, you know, learning about them, and I actually enjoy it. So I'm just mixing this up with the potting soil blend. Now somebody might ask, why am I using the soil that the plant came with if I'm doing a DIY blend? I always like to leave a little bit of the soil that the plant came with when I do my repotting, because I don't want the plant's roots to be in shock. It's like taking something from its home and throwing it into a new home with no remnants of where it came from. And that can be shocking to plants, because we have to remember plants are living things, right? So I like to leave a little bit of where the plant's coming from, the soil that it was growing in, and mix that into this new soil.
It's ancestry.
You laughing at me, babe? It's ancestry. It's silly. All right, so I've got that all mixed up. And then what I'm going to do is make this little well in the center. And I know you guys know this. Most of you know this if you've planted or repotted. You always want to make a little bit of a well in the center of the pot. And that's where you want to put in your root ball, right into the center. And dig it a little deeper if you need to, because you want to make sure that those roots get buried in the soil so that they can catch and grow. And then I'm going to take these that I propagated away, and I'm going to pop those right down into the soil around the sides of the plant. You want to be gentle but firm when repotting, because the base of the plant is what's actually going to hold it in place. So you want to make sure that you're giving it a solid foundation. And just take your hand and go into the pot and pack the soil down. Pack the soil down around the plant. And once we've done all that, you're going to give it a drink of water, and it's actually done. It's done. So this snake plant has been repotted. The parts that were taken away from it some months ago have been brought back and reintroduced to the mother, and it's done. I'm not going to fool with it too much because I don't want to break the roots or any of the stems at the base. And I heard a crack, so I think I might have done that on one. But that's it. It's done right now. So I like the way that it looks in this pot. It looks so much better than it did in the nursery pot. If you guys can see that, it looks so much better than it did in the nursery pot. So I'm going to move this to the side. I'm going to do the same thing for my croton. Then I'm going to give these a drink of water, and these are actually done. All right. Go ahead and stop it, babe.
Go.
All right, so here we go. Repotting the croton. Remember, the first thing, or the largest portion of what I'm going to be putting into the blend is potting soil. That's the base. From the potting soil, I'm going to put in my orchid bark. Next is my worm castings. I'll follow that up with perlite. And then the last thing that I'm going to add is peat moss. And the measurements are 2 parts potting soil to 1 part of the orchid bark, peat moss, worm castings, and perlite. And I just give it a good mix. And then we go ahead and we get our baby here, which is our croton. And if you take a look at the soil that's in here now, this is still in a nursery pot, and you see how it just clumps, it breaks apart. It's very compacted, it's very, very dry, and that's not what we want for our plants. Unless it's, of course, a succulent. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out. I'm gonna let any extra fall off into our big pot here. And there we have it. I'm going to break this soil up. And then I'm going to do as I did with our snake plant. I'm going to go in and mix it into the new potting soil blend. Of the soil. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's It's very earthy, huh? All right. I'm going to dig our little well. And you know what? I think I might need to add a little bit more of that soil that fell out back into here. Okay. And what you see me doing now, guys, is just packing it down, allowing more of the soil. You see what I mean when I say it crumbles? It gets into these clumps and crumbles. This is what my issue is with regular potting soil. I don't like when that happens. And I'm just going to pack it down in there. My hand is in the pot, and you probably can't see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm mixing in the soil that was in the bottom. I'm mixing it in. I guess you'll just have to take my word for it because you can't really see. But I'm mixing it in. My blend, my soil blend with the soil that was already around the plant. As my wife says, we got to keep it close to its ancestry. We want to give it a little bit of that as we move it into a new space. All right, and this one is done too. I don't worry too much about the pots getting soiled or, you know, messed up as I'm repotting it, because I can always clean that up at the end. But there you have it. We've drilled holes, we made a DIY soil blend, and we repotted a beautiful croton and put my mother plant of one of my beautiful snake plants back together. So that's it, guys. I want to say thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for watching. Let me know what questions you have. Do you have your own DIY potting soil blend? What are you doing for your plants at home? Have you started winterizing your plants yet? Because you know they're going into the dormant season. Just what are you doing? How are you loving on your plants, and how are they loving on you? I love you guys. Thank you for always coming back and checking for me and watching my videos and commenting. I will see you in my next video. Peace.